Seeing those badges on this wheelchair, who do you think you are? A warrior or a mop with wheels?
I'm an American citizen drinking coffee. Ha!
Gangsters bullied a disabled woman in a wheelchair until 8 Navy SEALs walked in. "Move that wheelchair, gimp. You're taking up space real customers need," snarled Bulldog Morrison as Master Chief Carla Martinez sat quietly at Anchor Bay Café. Morrison had no idea 8 Navy SEALs were about to walk through the door, recognizing their legendary former commander. Master Chief Carla Martinez, 45, retired Navy SEAL instructor and first female to reach E9 in special warfare, faced harassment from 3 bikers while having coffee. Her classified service record included training the very SEALs who were approaching the cafe entrance. The 8 SEALs finishing their training run recognized their wheelchair-bound former instructor through the window. Their intervention would remind civilian bullies why attacking a SEAL, regardless of disability, was a catastrophic mistake. Carla Martinez's groundbreaking SEAL career and heroic service Master Chief Carla Martinez had served 18 years as Navy SEAL instructor and support personnel, becoming the first woman to achieve Master Chief rank within special warfare communities through exceptional performance in training, logistics, and operational support that enabled SEAL mission success. Her expertise in combat medicine, advanced weapon systems, and tactical instruction had trained 3 generations of SEALs whose survival in combat operations depended on skills she'd perfected through real-world application during classified overseas deployments, supporting direct action missions. The IED blast in Afghanistan that ended her operational career had occurred during classified mission, where she'd been providing medical support to SEAL team conducting high-value target elimination. Her actions under fire had saved 4 SEALs' lives while sustaining spinal injuries requiring wheelchair mobility. Her transition to instructor role had been seamless, with her combat experience and tactical knowledge making her invaluable for training programs that prepared SEALs for contemporary threats requiring specialized skills that only combat veterans could teach effectively. Carla's retirement had been medically mandated, but her legacy lived on through hundreds of SEALs whose training had been enhanced by her expertise, experience, and unwavering commitment to preparing warriors for combat operations where her lessons meant survival. The 3 bikers' criminal background and intimidation pattern, Bulldog Morrison, Tank Williams, and Spike Rodriguez, represented local criminal element whose intimidation tactics targeted vulnerable civilians in establishments where their size and aggression could dominate peaceful customers without effective resistance or law enforcement response. Their criminal activities included drug trafficking, extortion, and systematic harassment of minorities, elderly, and disabled individuals whose circumstances made them ideal victims for violence and intimidation that served both criminal purposes and personal satisfaction. Morrison's particular hostility toward military personnel stemmed from his own dishonorable discharge from Army basic training, creating resentment toward successful service members whose accomplishments highlighted his personal failures and lack of character. Their presence at Anchor Bay Café represented territorial behavior where criminal intimidation established dominance while driving away legitimate customers whose patronage conflicted with illegal activities, young soldier recognition, and military network. Private Marcus Johnson, 22nd Infantry Division, recognized Carla's special warfare insignia and wheelchair modifications, that indicated combat-wounded veteran whose service warranted respect, rather than harassment from civilian criminals whose behavior violated everything military personnel were taught about honor, courage, and protecting vulnerable populations requiring institutional support and community recognition. Systematic intimidation and disability harassment. The confrontation began when Carla Martinez entered Anchor Bay Café seeking peaceful morning coffee, her wheelchair and veteran patches identifying her as disabled military personnel whose presence triggered Morrison's criminal targeting of vulnerable individuals requiring protection rather than systematic harassment. Look at this, boys. Wheelchair warrior taking up valuable real estate, Morrison announced loudly enough for entire cafe to hear his cruel assessment of decorated veteran whose service had protected civilian freedoms that he exercised without understanding their cost or respecting those who'd paid through personal sacrifice. Carla maintained military composure despite civilian cruelty, her decades of leadership experience having taught her de-escalation strategies while recognizing that criminal elements often interpreted restraint as weakness rather than professional discipline and tactical assessment. Ma'am, this table is reserved for customers who can actually reach their coffee without mechanical assistance, Tank Williams added, his mockery of disability revealing ignorance about adaptive equipment and veteran accommodation that federal law required and basic human decency should have provided willingly. The cafe staff and customers watched silently as systematic harassment unfolded, their inaction enabling continued abuse while Carla faced criminal intimidation without community support or institutional protection that military service should have guaranteed through civilian respect and appropriate recognition. Morrison's escalation included blocking Carla's wheelchair access while threatening physical violence that would have constituted criminal assault against disabled veteran whose military background remained unknown to civilian criminals, whose ignorance about special warfare would soon be corrected dramatically. Physical intimidation and criminal threat. Maybe wheelchair lady needs help understanding this isn't her kind of place, Spike Rodriguez declared while positioning himself to prevent Carla's movement. His criminal intimidation tactics designed to force vulnerable target into submission through physical threat and systematic harassment. The bikers' coordinated positioning represented predatory behavior that civilian law enforcement should have addressed through immediate intervention, while their targeting of disabled veteran violated federal hate crime statutes, protecting military personnel from discrimination and systematic violence. Please, gentlemen, I'm just trying to enjoy coffee peacefully. I don't want trouble with anyone, Carla replied diplomatically, her respectful tone masking tactical assessment of multiple threats while maintaining operational security about her military background. Morrison interpreted peaceful response as confirmation of weakness rather than recognizing professional restraint that special warfare training had embedded through decades of high-stakes situations requiring controlled response and tactical discipline. Trouble is what happens when disabled freaks forget their place, Morrison threatened, his escalation toward violence creating public safety crisis, where decorated veteran faced criminal assault without community intervention or institutional protection. Community inaction and military recognition. Private Johnson observed systematic harassment while recognizing Carla's military insignia, his infantry training, providing respect for special warfare personnel that civilian customers clearly lacked through ignorance about military service and veteran recognition requiring appropriate community response. That's Master Chief insignia with Special Warfare designation, Johnson whispered to his companion, his military knowledge identifying elite service that civilian criminals were attacking through systematic harassment and disability discrimination. The cafe patron's silence enabled continued abuse while demonstrating community failure to protect vulnerable veteran whose military service had defended civilian freedoms that customers enjoyed without understanding military sacrifice or personal cost that decorated personnel had paid through combat operations. "Sir, should we call local SEAL team? They're finishing training run nearby," Johnson's companion suggested, recognizing that military intervention might be necessary to protect veteran facing criminal intimidation that civilian authorities weren't addressing appropriately. Johnson's secure phone connected to SEAL training facility, whose personnel would respond immediately upon learning that decorated veteran faced civilian harassment requiring brotherhood protection and criminal justice that local law enforcement had failed to provide through appropriate intervention and community safety protocols. SEAL Team Emergency Response and Recognition. Team Leader, Chief Petty Officer Michael Rodriguez, received emergency notification that Master Chief Martinez faced civilian harassment at local establishment. His immediate response reflecting Special Warfare Community's absolute commitment to protecting brother and sister warriors regardless of retirement status or disability condition. SEALs, Master Chief Martinez is under civilian attack at Anchor Bay Café. All available personnel respond immediately to protect our former instructor whose training saved our lives during combat operations, Rodriguez announced through tactical communications. The 8 SEALs finishing physical training immediately diverted to cafe location, their response demonstrating institutional loyalty that transcended active duty status while honoring veteran whose expertise had prepared them for combat missions, where her lessons meant survival and mission success. Additionally, SEALs, Master Chief Martinez trained half of you personally during advanced combat medicine and tactical instruction that enabled successful high-value target missions across multiple theaters. Rodriguez continued through encrypted communications. Federal coordination included local law enforcement notification, ensuring civilian authorities understood that military personnel were responding to protect decorated veteran from criminal harassment, requiring institutional support and appropriate community recognition. Furthermore, SEALs, Master Chief Martinez's combat record includes classified operations where she saved SEAL lives while sustaining injuries that ended her operational career but never diminished her warrior status, Rodriguez declared, establishing context for protective response, military formation, and tactical assessment. The 8 SEALs entered Anchor Bay Café with coordinated precision that immediately changed establishment atmosphere as their military bearing and obvious physical conditioning created commanding presence that civilian criminals rarely encountered and never successfully challenged. "Attention in the cafe," Chief Rodriguez announced with command voice that made all conversations stop while his team established protective perimeter around Master Chief Martinez, whose wheelchair position had been tactically compromised by criminal harassment. Their formation demonstrated military discipline while providing visual education for civilian witnesses whose previous inaction was replaced by recognition that elite military personnel had arrived to address criminal behavior that local community had failed to confront appropriately. Master Chief Martinez, Chief Petty Officers Rodriguez, Santos, Chen, Torres, Williams, Johnson, Patterson, and Davis reporting for protective detail. Rodriguez announced with formal military courtesy that contrasted sharply with civilian harassment. The SEALs' visible respect transformed cafe atmosphere while demonstrating proper recognition of decorated veteran whose service had earned institutional honor rather than criminal intimidation and systematic disability discrimination. Additionally, Master Chief Martinez, your training prepared this team for combat operations where lessons you taught saved American lives through tactical medicine and advanced combat techniques. Rodriguez continued, establishing educational context for civilian witnesses whose ignorance about military service was being corrected through direct demonstration. Criminal education and military authority. The SEALs' presence created immediate reversal of power dynamics as 3 criminal bikers faced 8 elite warriors, whose combined combat experience exceeded anything civilian intimidation could match through size, aggression, or numerical advantage. Gentlemen, you've been harassing Master Chief Carla Martinez, former SEAL instructor whose combat record includes classified operations protecting American lives while training personnel responsible for eliminating high-value terrorist targets. Chief Santos announced to stunned criminals. Morrison's criminal bravado evaporated when confronted by military personnel whose professional competence and obvious physical conditioning made civilian intimidation appear pathetically inadequate compared to operational capabilities that SEALs possessed through elite training. Additionally, gentlemen, Master Chief Martinez lost use of her legs, saving SEAL team members during classified operation in Afghanistan, where her medical expertise prevented American casualties while eliminating terrorist threats. Torres continued, the educational presentation included details about special warfare training, combat operations, and veteran sacrifice that civilian criminals had never understood, while their harassment revealed ignorance about military service and decorated personnel deserving community respect. Furthermore, gentlemen, your harassment of disabled combat veteran violates federal hate crime statutes while dishonoring sacrifice that protected your freedom to operate motorcycles and frequent establishments without terrorist interference. Williams declared, establishing legal context while demonstrating overwhelming tactical superiority that made criminal resistance impossibly dangerous and legally indefensible. Military authority and criminal accountability. The 8 SEALs' coordinated presence established military authority that civilian criminals couldn't challenge through intimidation tactics that had previously succeeded against vulnerable individuals lacking institutional protection and community support that decorated veterans deserved through federal law and moral obligation. Mr. Morrison, you've committed federal hate crimes against disabled veteran whose service protected American interests, while your criminal activities represent everything military personnel swore to defend against. Chief Rodriguez announced with command authority. Federal notification included FBI hate crime investigation, while local law enforcement received detailed briefing about criminal harassment targeting decorated special warfare veteran whose service record warranted institutional protection rather than civilian intimidation. Additionally, Mr. Morrison, Master Chief Martinez's training record includes instructing personnel who eliminated Osama bin Laden and other high-value targets whose deaths prevented terrorist attacks against American civilian populations. Santos continued, Congressional Veterans Affairs Committees received immediate notification about civilian harassment targeting disabled SEAL instructor, while federal hate crime investigation would examine systematic targeting of military personnel requiring enhanced protection and criminal accountability. Furthermore, Mr. Morrison, your intimidation tactics against wheelchair-bound combat veteran demonstrate cowardice that contrasts sharply with her courage under enemy fire that saved American lives through personal sacrifice. Torres declared, the federal response would include comprehensive investigation while Morrison's criminal enterprise faced scrutiny that could result in RICO prosecution, affecting entire organization whose illegal activities had been exposed through harassment of decorated military personnel. Educational transformation and community recognition. The SEAL's educational presentation transformed civilian ignorance into understanding about special warfare service, while demonstrating proper recognition of decorated veteran whose expertise had influenced military training programs and combat effectiveness across multiple theaters. Master Chief Martinez developed advanced combat medicine protocols that reduced SEAL casualties by 40% during Afghanistan and Iraq operations, while her tactical instruction influenced special operations doctrine still used today, Chen explained to gathering crowd. Cafe patrons witnessed systematic education about military service while recognizing their moral failure to protect vulnerable veterans from criminal harassment that federal law prohibited and basic human decency should have prevented through community intervention. Additionally, Master Chief Martinez's wheelchair results from injuries sustained during classified mission where she chose to expose herself to enemy fire rather than abandon wounded SEALs requiring immediate medical attention. Patterson continued. The civilian response shifted from silent witness to active recognition as customers understood they'd observed harassment of American hero, whose sacrifice had protected freedoms they exercised without understanding military cost or veteran contribution. Furthermore, Master Chief Martinez's retirement was medically mandated, but her legacy continues through every SEAL she trained whose survival in combat depended on expertise she provided through decades of professional excellence, Johnson declared. Morrison and his criminal associates faced community condemnation, while their intimidation tactics were revealed as attacks against decorated combat veteran whose service warranted honor, rather than systematic harassment and disability discrimination violating federal law. Institutional recognition and permanent honor. Master Chief Martinez received formal recognition from active duty SEALs whose presence demonstrated institutional commitment to protecting retired personnel while honoring service that had influenced military training and combat effectiveness through professional excellence and personal sacrifice. Master Chief Martinez, your instruction prepared this team for combat operations where techniques you taught eliminated terrorist threats while preventing American casualties through tactical medicine and advanced combat protocols, Chief Rodriguez announced during impromptu ceremony. Federal recognition included congressional testimony where Carla's case influenced legislation enhancing protection for disabled veterans, while establishing rapid response protocols, ensuring military personnel received appropriate civilian recognition rather than systematic harassment. Additionally, Master Chief Martinez, your legacy includes training programs that influence special operations doctrine, while combat experience provided credibility that enhanced military instruction through real-world application. Rodriguez continued, the cafe establishment implemented permanent veteran recognition policies, while Carla's continuing advocacy work demonstrated successful transition from combat service to civilian education that honored military values through community engagement. Furthermore, Master Chief Martinez, this team requests honor of escorting you to breakfast and providing protective detail, ensuring civilian recognition rather than harassment that violated federal law, Rodriguez declared. Congressional funding supported veteran protection programs, while Carla's foundation provided resources for disabled military personnel facing civilian discrimination, requiring immediate intervention and long-term community education addressing systematic prejudice. Complete community transformation and federal recognition. Master Chief Carla Martinez's transformation from harassment victim to community hero demonstrated how military intervention could educate civilian populations while creating permanent cultural change that honored veteran sacrifice through appropriate recognition and institutional accountability. Anchor Bay Café became veteran gathering place as Carla's story inspired community recognition, while establishment policies ensured military personnel received appropriate respect rather than criminal harassment requiring federal intervention and law enforcement protection. The Department of Veterans Affairs awarded Carla federal recognition for civilian education, while her case influenced legislation protecting disabled veterans from systematic targeting through enhanced penalties and rapid response protocols, ensuring immediate intervention. Congressional testimony established Carla as expert witness on veteran discrimination, while her advocacy work created national awareness about disabled military personnel requiring civilian support rather than criminal intimidation violating federal hate crime statutes. Federal compensation addressed constitutional violations while providing resources for Carla's continuing advocacy work, protecting veteran communities from civilian extremism and systematic discrimination requiring ongoing institutional oversight and community accountability. National military recognition and community education. The Martinez Protocol became federal standard for protecting disabled veterans from civilian harassment while establishing enhanced penalties for criminal targeting of military personnel through systematic intimidation and disability discrimination violating constitutional rights. Carla addressed veteran advocacy conferences monthly, her SEAL experience providing credibility that influenced comprehensive protection programs, while her case demonstrated successful federal intervention, protecting decorated personnel from civilian terrorism and criminal harassment. Federal legislation created specialized hate crime categories for attacking disabled veterans while establishing rapid response networks, ensuring immediate military intervention when decorated personnel faced civilian extremism requiring institutional protection and community accountability. National recognition included Carla's appointment to Federal Disability Rights Commission, while her foundation provided legal assistance to veterans facing civilian discrimination, requiring immediate intervention and ongoing community education addressing systematic prejudice. Her partnership with active duty SEALs created permanent protective network, ensuring disabled veterans received appropriate recognition while preventing civilian harassment through enhanced federal oversight and community responsibility programs. Brotherhood legacy and continuing service. Carla Martinez's recovery from criminal harassment to national recognition demonstrated resilience that special warfare training had provided, while SEAL intervention proved that military brotherhood transcended retirement status when decorated personnel faced civilian threats. The 8 SEALs' protective response created permanent support network, while their intervention inspired community transformation, protecting other disabled veterans from systematic targeting through ongoing education and federal accountability. Anchor Bay Café became symbol of veteran recognition, while Carla's presence educated civilian populations about military sacrifice requiring community support rather than criminal harassment violating moral standards and federal law. Her continuing partnership with active duty SEALs demonstrated that military bonds remained unbreakable, while community recognition proved that civilian education could transform harassment into honor, when appropriate intervention provided moral guidance and institutional protection for decorated veterans whose service deserved perpetual respect. National Veteran Protection and Disability Rights Revolution. The Martinez recognition transformed federal hate crime law through enhanced protection for disabled veterans while establishing rapid response protocols, ensuring immediate military intervention when decorated personnel faced civilian harassment, requiring institutional accountability and community education. Carla addressed disability rights conferences monthly, her special warfare background providing credibility that influenced comprehensive protection, while her case demonstrated successful integration of military authority with civilian education, creating permanent cultural change honoring veteran sacrifice. The Department of Justice created disabled veteran protection divisions, ensuring rapid federal investigation when systematic targeting threatened military communities, while establishing enhanced penalties for civilian harassment, violating constitutional rights, and federal disability accommodation requirements. Federal funding supported veteran advocacy programs, while Carla's foundation provided emergency assistance to disabled military personnel facing civilian discrimination, requiring immediate intervention and long-term community support through education and institutional accountability. Carla's personal victory and continuing mission. Carla Martinez discovered that her special warfare training, combined with civilian harassment and military intervention, created unique platform for federal advocacy, protecting disabled veterans from systematic targeting while ensuring military personnel received constitutional protection rather than criminal intimidation. Her work establishing veteran protection programs helped communities nationwide understand military sacrifice, while ensuring disabled personnel received appropriate recognition rather than harassment through civilian ignorance and systematic discrimination, requiring ongoing education and federal accountability. The cafe where criminals harassed her became headquarters for veteran advocacy, demonstrating community transformation when military authority activated for decorated personnel, requiring protection from civilian extremism and systematic targeting, violating moral standards. Universal military brotherhood and veteran protection message. The Anchor Bay incident proved that military brotherhood transcended retirement and disability when decorated veterans faced civilian threats requiring immediate intervention and community education addressing systematic harassment and criminal targeting. Carla learned that surviving criminal harassment created responsibility for protecting other disabled veterans from similar attacks. Military brotherhood knows no retirement, recognizes no disability, accepts no defeat. When SEALs answer their Master Chief's call, they remind the world that some bonds are forged in combat fire and cooled in shared sacrifice, unbreakable, eternal, and always ready to protect their own. In the end, Carla Martinez learned that her wheelchair hadn't diminished her command presence, it had just changed the battlefield. When her SEALs walked through that cafe door, they proved that rank, respect, and brotherhood don't depend on the ability to stand. They depend on the courage to serve, and that was something she'd never lost.